Hello and welcome to the Hero Spouse. I'm Kenda Ruth, and today I'm not answering one of your questions, but I wanted to respond to some things that were said yesterday when I made a post about one of the new sections I have just added to the homepage, and that is in the new homepage I'm rebuilding, so it's not going into the old homepage, which you probably land on right now, because since I'm doing the rebuilding, I'm just going to put it on the one. But the post is about MLCers not coming home prematurely and staying home, or about how MLC lasts longer. And there's some issues about trust, mistrust, being trustworthy. And I want to address this really quickly. And I do need to be quick because I have a group coaching session in a few minutes. So I want to get this out to you. Being warned and concerned and aware that your MLCer may be returning prematurely. And this is especially if it is in the first few months, even before 1 year, before 2 years. But I see this the most in the first year when the mixed messages and the confusion in the MLCer is so high that they may come and go, or they end it with the alienated, that they think it's over. They want to work on the marriage, but it just doesn't last. And then you're disappointed. And it makes it harder for you. You feel you've had a second bomb drop when they say, oh, it's not working for me again. You're just as devastated. Sometimes it feels even worse. But if you accept that this is MLC and understand that, you can prepare yourself so that you accept what may be coming. And you prepare. It's not an expectation, it's a preparation. But some issues that came up about trust. Well, then you're just mistrusting them. And that's really bad. You're manifesting the negative. And I used to go back and forth with this when I was going through it, going, how can I say this? But am I manifesting these negatives? This is like the Stockdale paradox. The Stockdale paradox is when Commander Stockdale was asked, he was a prisoner of war, who was going to survive, and who fell the fastest when you were in a prison camp? And he says, oh, that's easy. It's the optimists. Well, but Commander Stockdale, he was an optimist, but he wasn't that kind. The optimists were the ones who said, we know we'll get out by this Christmas, by this. Commander Stockdale said, he said, I had always had faith that we would get out, but I didn't know when. The faith was someday we will be free. It may be tomorrow, but I'm not banking on that. Realistic optimism. And that's what I want you to hold for your MLCer. Realistic optimism, whether your reconciliation happens or not, even that they will come through this. They're just not going to come through it tomorrow if bomb drop was in January of this year. That's not how MLC works. I would not even call it an MLC if they went through it so fast. I would call that a midlife transition. Midlife transitions can be tough, but not like midlife crisis. Midlife crisis has a time orient to it. Now, there could be short midlife crisis. A short one is 3 years. 2.5, off spectrum a bit, but yeah. But if it's 3 months long, that either was something else. They could have infidelity, and that can appear in limerence to be like a midlife crisis. Other things going on. Or you're going to see them go back into crisis again. Or they may go back in many years later for a different second crisis. I would consider that 2 separate events. But what about trust? Are you manifesting the negative side of it if you do not extend trust to them? So let's look at it this way. Somebody just had an affair on you. They betrayed you. They may have monstered at you, projected at you, blamed you for the affair and everything else, including the lack of world peace. Everything was your fault. And now they've said, you know what, I'm really sorry. I made a mistake. Maybe they're all genuine. I want to work on this. I would like to come home and work on our marriage. I'll go to counseling. And they may mean every bit of that. And I extend that validity to that. Some of them aren't. Some of them are teasing, and some of them are like, okay, I'm going to keep this person on the side, but I really mean this too, and I'm going to weigh the odds and see what happens. I'm going to see what happens with my marriage. This person is over there if it doesn't work out. Some of them mean it. They don't get the crisis. Do you right now, without them having done anything other than use words to tell you they're sorry and say they'll do these things, do you trust them? There are some things called the unconditionals. This is what I call them. The unconditionals are grace. That means grace is not earned. You don't have to deserve it to get it. The unconditional is forgiveness. Now, you can choose whether to give forgiveness, but the recipient of your forgiveness, the person you are forgiving, does not have to deserve it, and they don't have to do anything to earn it. And maybe you want them to, and that's your choice. But how forgiveness is, it is a gift for you, an unconditional. Grace, and the other one, grace, forgiveness, and agape, the unconditional type of love. That is the love we have for everything. The love of creation, love of strangers. It's not romantic love. It's not even filial, the love you feel for your family or your friends. It is agape, unconditional love. It is an unconditional. You don't have to earn it. You don't have to deserve it. You could be a horrible, horrible person. You could be evil. Agape. Trust is not an unconditional. Trust is earned and deserved. Somebody needs to earn your trust, because when you are putting out your trust, you are making yourself vulnerable in a way, and you are banking on things that will happen. If I hand you my money and say, go to the store and purchase my medicine that I need to survive, I am trusting you, because there is a consequence if you run off with that money and steal it. It's not an unconditional that I trust you with the money. You betray me, am I going to give you the money when you say, I'm really sorry, I did that 2 hours later? Will you give me some more money, and I will go get your pharmaceuticals that you need to survive? No! Absolutely not. Do I trust that person? No. So your spouse just said, I took your heart out and I ripped and stomped on it, and now I'm really sorry about it. I haven't done anything other than tell you I'm sorry. Don't trust them. I'm not saying mistrust them. So what I'm going to say is how I am going to explain trust, mistrust, and don't trust. When I say mistrust, that is, I have an expectation that this person will do some form of betrayal against me if I extend this offer of trust. So if I trust this person who has stolen from me, and that's maybe all they've ever done, or they've done it randomly, but I know that on this occasion, if this is going on in their life, they will steal the money and not get my meds. I have mistrust for them, because I have an expectation that they will take the money and run, or that they will on some occasions and some occasions not. There's an expectation that I know the risk is not worth it. Now, saying don't trust them, I am not extending my trust to you, but I also don't have an expectation that you will take it and run. I don't know what I'm doing with you. I don't know where I stand with you or where you stand. I might be willing to take the risk and hand you the money. And I might say, I trust you to take this and do what you're supposed to with it. But that's kind of like when we say, I expect you, to your 5-year-old, to be good at school today and not stick your tongue out and go ninner, ninner, ninner to the girl that you've been teasing. We know they're going to do it, but we set up a structure of expectation. It's kind of confusing because of the English language, and it's the same word as the other expectation, where we truly have an expectation that we believe they aren't going to do that. The belief level of expectation. We don't think this is going to happen. So with your MLCer, Chuck came home sometimes and he was being authentic, and sometimes he wasn't. What I did when he came home was I did tidbits of trust. That meant I trusted him to change a light bulb. And I meant more than that. I trusted him to take care of finances, because he didn't go crazy on finances in MLC. I trusted that for the most part, he was going to be home on time. He was going to take care of it. He was usually respectful within MLC parameters. In other words, he was better when not an MLC. But when he was gone, there was a different level of it. So I had this trust in what his abilities were, but I wasn't going to trust him with the emotions of heart because I knew he wasn't ready for that. He didn't have the capacity. You have to prove that through time. So this is with infidelity that is or is not MLC. You don't have them come home and then just say, okay, I trust you completely. What that means is that is sweeping the elephant right under the rug. An elephant swept under the rug isn't like other secrets under the rug. You can see the shape of the elephant, and if you keep walking, you will bang into it. It's a very obvious secret. Trust is earned, and it needs to be through consistent behavior over time. Now, maybe you need to determine the amount of time that is, but I'll tell you, I don't think it should be a week, and I don't think it should be a month. In an MLC, we've seen some of them where it's been a year and then they go away. I'm talking not when it's a big gap of 10 years. I'm talking about in that first year when sometimes it's weeks, sometimes it's a couple months, but it can go a year. Maybe you are getting more to the point where, okay, I'm extending more trust now. Now I trust them. You can be stingy with your trust. It is not pessimism, it's realism. Be realistic. I expect, in my situation, I expected that there was going to be a point where Chuck was trustworthy. I knew at that moment, in those moments, he was not yet there. So the optimism was for a future date, not the present date back then. We're into that future. Chuck came home for the last time in 2008, October. He left the Alienator. And then we had a setup where we weren't going to be in the same house because you don't house hop, and that was how we solidified that it was going to work this time. So we were back together in August of 2009. That was what? 14 years ago now. Could he have another midlife crisis? Yeah, his was about 3.5 to 4 years. So sure, he could. He was within that timeline, but still short. He could go. It's been more than 10 years, though, I will say. We are past the 10-year gap that I really see as common for that second crisis. I've done this. I've had an MLC who came home 8 times. That is not the norm. In fact, I don't know if I've seen one that did that. I have extended tidbits of trust. I have extended to the point he is trustworthy. When he came home, each time, I didn't. Other than the last, I did not think, okay, now we are there. I knew he's not really there yet. He's not really ready. I hope this can work. I'm going to put our effort into it can work. And if this one, if he goes away again, well, I know how to deal with that. I'm detached. I'm strong. I will set boundaries, and I will still love him. But I am not going to extend that level of intimate trust until he has proven himself to be consistent in trustworthy behaviors. They have to be worthy of trust. Okay? I want you to protect yourself. I want you to love your spouse at the same time. But if you continue to make yourself so vulnerable, you can set yourself up for feeling so betrayed and then demonizing them. They're a horrible person. This is just who they are. It's never going to work. They're never going to come back. When you set up things for what they are not ready, or in other words, having the capacity to do it. When I say they're not ready, I don't mean they're refusing to be ready. It is about can't, not won't. Won't is a choice. Can't is they are being pulled by their midlife crisis and they have to go through it. Okay? This is about positivism. I'm an optimist with realistic optimist right in front of that. Realistic optimist. I want to prepare you because otherwise it sets you up for more failure and feeling like a failure. Okay? You can do this. And if you don't want to stand, it's okay. If you don't want to accept them home, it's okay. And if you do, that's okay too. But I want to set you up for the best success in all of that. So I hope this is helpful, and I will see everybody in the next video.